Hello, hello, everybody. How are you today? How is your week? Do you have any plans for this weekend? Just okay here. Nobody presented me any projects this week. Okay. How are you? I'm going to hello, hello. I'm going to go to my hometown this Sunday. This Sunday, no, not this Saturday. So I feel kind of, I don't know. I don't really want to go on Sunday, but I have a lot of tasks to do on Monday and Tuesday. That's why I need to go to my hometown. What about you? What are you doing this week? Any special plans for the vacation? Not for the vacation, but for the weekends. Nobody, right? Okay. Maybe maybe I confused the link for today's webinar. I don't know what was the. That's why I will go to my hometown, communicate with my oh, thanks God. Somebody answered me. I thought there are some technical problems and I was checking everything, just literally everything. I thought that something. Okay, let's have a look. to the city near the sea. Okay, nothing interesting. Oh, well, it's just fine. Why not? Okay. So today I was going to continue talking about self kind of self growth and being motivated, encouraged, and stuff like that. And today's topic of the webinar is self-motivation. So first of all, we are going to start with the leading discussion about motivation itself. After that, we are going to look what self-motivation is, what it means, what are the two types of motivations that we can have, what tips are for being self-motivated. After that, we are going to look at the personal value model and the theory and Schwartz theory for self-motivation. Also, we are going to just a little bit, several sentences about cultural settings and cultural background differences of self-motivation. And after that, just a small wrap up and motivational Cumberbatch. That is who is really motivational and his convincing acting. First of all, just a second. Okay, so speaking about motivation itself, self-motivation is the ability to drive oneself to take initiative and action to pursue goals and complete tasks. It's an inner drive to take action, to create and to achieve. It's what pushes you to keep going on tasks, especially those you are pursuing because you want to, not because someone told you to. When reaching for a big goal, self-motivation plays a key role, but making a change in your life requires persistence, and many of us find it difficult to stay motivated over time. When setting out to achieve a long-term goal, whether it's to get healthy, make a midlife career change, or realize a personal dream, the beginning is easy. You are full of vitality and determination to face the challenge. I will check. However, many of our most precious goals, my God, don't happen quickly. It takes hard work, persistence, and discipline to change your life. When the results don't come as quickly as you expect, or when nothing goes right, it's natural to feel frustrated and have difficulty staying motivated. Exploring how to find motivation will provide the tools to overcome dips, develop mental toughness, improve your focus on your goals, and keep you on a steady path toward success. So let's begin. What is self-motivation? In order to find motivation, we first need to understand what we are really talking about. Motivation is simply the force driving your behavior. is the why behind everything you do and the reason you might take up a course, commit to an action, or work toward a goal. Everything we do is motivated by some combination of conscious and subconscious need or desire. When we talk about self-motivation, we are going beyond basic motives. What we really mean is the ability to follow through on making a positive change in life without giving up. Self-motivation requires that you believe in yourself, stay inspired, and keep going despite setbacks. In other words, we are talking about grit. Psychologist Angela Duckworth studied the characteristics of high achievers and discovered the passion and perseverance are the key drivers of long-term success. Grit takes you farther than the initial motive. Behind your goal, after the buzz of excitement wears off, grit takes you all the way to the finish line. So how can we learn to harness these qualities and develop the self-motivation to succeed? What actually drives motivation? Although self-motivation requires a long-term view, it's important to look at what is motivating you to seek change. The more clear you are on why, the easier it will be to stay focused on the work you are doing and to create the life you want. Sometimes motives can hide in plain sight, hidden within the subconscious, telling us deep down inside that something needs to change. Desires can evolve, sometimes in a flash of inspiration, and sometimes through self-discovery over time. You'll have an easier time staying motivated by recognizing the motives behind your goals. Becoming aware of these motives and their source improves self-awareness while also keeping you on track toward goals that truly matter to you. So we can classify we can classify our motivation into two types: intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic motivation refers to pursuing a goal based on internal factors. Rather than external rewards like money or recognition, intrinsically motivated actions have a built-in personal reward. Feelings of enjoyment, finding purpose, achieving excellence come from pursuing intrinsically motivated goals. In other words, our deepest desires, wants, and dreams come from within and drive self-motivation. When I was conducting my CELTA course for becoming a teacher, we had an input session on intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So we we divided our students into intrinsically motivated and extrinsically motivated. What does it mean, intrinsically motivated students? These are the students who say, I like learning something. I like learning English. I get pleasure from learning something new. I like communicating with people in English. I just like it. So these people are intrinsically motivated. They don't do it for money. They don't do it because they want to get a promotion or they want to do something. So they just do it because they like doing it. So examples of intrinsic motivation include changing habits to feel healthier, pursuing a lifelong dream of becoming an artist, or building stronger, more meaningful relationships with people, learning English for pleasure. What heartful desires drive you to become a better person and pursue your dreams? That's where you will find intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation relates to actions that we pursue based on external factors. In the case of extrinsic motivation, we aim to attain some kind of reward, such as money, status, or good performance. Some examples of extrinsically motivated goals are seeking perfect grade in school, hitting sales goals at work, changing your appearance to please other people, make more money to live better. So we also distinguished and divided our students into extrinsically motivated students. Those are the students, I learn English for my job. I learn English because I want more money, or I want to get this position, or I want to understand my clients better. So it will take me less time at work to communicate with them. Some examples. So what kind of drivers lead you to work hard for tangible and measurable rewards? Those are your extrinsic motivators. Everyone is different, and therefore each person has their own set of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Whether you feel more encouraged by internal motivation or find yourself influenced by the external factors, or both, neither is right or wrong. But according to my first-hand experience, the best students who achieve the best results are those who have these two kinds of motivators cross: intrinsic motivation and extrinsic one. Because you can think that working with entirely intrinsically motivated students is much easier. I will say no. It's the same as working with entirely extrinsically motivated people. There is no distinct differentiation between both of students, because there are no students who can be divided into these and those. There are both kinds of students. So not both, there is a blend. Usually when you have intrinsic motivation, there should be some extrinsic motivation, because working with a person on the onset of their academic process, I have to concoct an academic syllabus for him or her. When it finishes, the person goes on working with you. Sometimes you feel that there is no end finish line, there is no aim, there is no purpose to continue working with him, because there is simply no aim. If you have no aim, there is no aim to work, no motivation. And sometimes you have to sometimes you have to install this aim or this finish line, or finish kind of aim, finish destination, because I have no aim to teach. I don't know what to teach, what the person needs. I don't have, it's like very vague, obscure, ambiguous. I don't understand anything, what to work with. So kind of difficult for me. With extrinsically motivated people, also very hard to work, because they have a very firm aim, but they don't have the desire to do something. So usually there are students who come who are blendedly motivated. Otherwise it's very hard to work with entirely these or these kind of students. So there should be a blend, right? Now, I would like to ask you about these two questions. Are you a self-motivated person? Why or why not? Are you a self-motivated person? Why or why not? Speaking about me, I'm a rather self-motivated person, especially at the beginning of doing something, on the onset. But After that, I become very demotivated sometimes, or I lose interest, I lose something, and I become very demotivated, which forces me to change and to shift back, to hop back and forth to this goal and to this goal, which really irritates me a lot. This is the quality I would like to get rid of. Um, so I think I'm self-motivated, but at the beginning, only at the beginning. After that, I need to have some extrinsic motivation from other people, not from me, because it's not enough for me to have my own self-motivation. What about you? What's your greatest motive? So please take part in the webinar. Type in the chat box, because today is the day of prizes for the most active students. I don't count nothing interesting and hello, hi. Can you please type in the chat box and participate in the webinar? The topic is quite interesting, so please, you are welcome to participate in the webinar. Are you self-motivated? Nobody answers me. Are you self-motivated? Okay, let's go on to the next question. What's your greatest motivation? What drives you? Is it intrinsic motivation? Is it extrinsic? Maybe some people, for example, speaking about me, my greatest motivation are only the people who are around me, who I'm close to. I'm not, yes, I think, okay, Ksenia, great. For example, these YouTube channels, or some people who I don't know, especially these businessmen who speak generally about motivation. You have to achieve something, you will succeed. It doesn't work for me. I'm only motivated with the. I'm only motivated by the people who are around me. Lately, I didn't have any of those. So I have to be self-motivated. I have to find some bits and tiny teeny pieces of motivation from the internet, maybe from some very successful people. But now I understand that my boyfriend really gave me a great bunch of motivation, because he succeeded in a very short period of time. His perseverance, persistence, and determination really struck me, because I haven't expected it from him. I haven't expected such a powerful drive and aspiration to achieve his goal. And I was really motivated by him, and it's my greatest motivation that drives me. But these people from the internet, they don't actually. I think I'm not self-motivated person, Dasha, right? Mila, I think I'm a self-motivated person. Great. Masha writes, I think the people I know personally inspire me the most, because I know in detail the entire success story. Right. That's what I'm speaking about. But of course, the people from the internet, not just like these businessmen who speak not very interesting stuff, but the people, like I watch some interviews, and the people, they are giving really great pieces of advice or really great stuff that help me to change my mindset, to change somehow my perspective and shift the attitude towards the stuff around me. So I'm greatly I don't want to say that I'm greatly inspired, but I accumulate the stuff I need, I understand I need, and after that there is a big motivation at the end. Dasha, Ksenia, depends on the situation, many different motivations. The greatest motivation for me are people who has already achieved something. Right. Great. Okay. Cool. So the thing I wanted you to look at is the video from TED Talks about the psychology of self-motivation. So can you please watch this video and write in the chat box what aspect appeals to you the most from this video. What aspect appeals to you the most from this video?
Thank you. Thank you. Beyond boundaries. What a theme, huh? Beyond. Now, when I think of boundaries, I think of rules, regulations, and restrictions. And I think of the parents and the teachers and the supervisors who hold us accountable with regard to those boundaries. Now, that's not a bad thing. I know if you're like me, I need supervisors. I need someone holding me accountable to do the right thing. But beyond boundaries is something different. I think of those leaders, those teachers, those supervisors, those parents who inspire us to go beyond the call of duty, to do more than we have to do it not because they tell us, but because we want to. I would like to share with you what the research says about how to make that happen. And not just for other people, but for yourself. Here's the deal. How can we inspire people and ourselves to be self-motivated? There's another word. It's called empowerment. You've heard that word, right? Now, the management definition of empowerment is get her done. Just get her done with fewer resources and less time. I empower you. Make it happen. I'm talking about feeling empowered. That's different. Feeling empowered is when you're self-motivated. Now, if you want to know if you feel empowered or if your child, your student, your worker feels empowered, ask them 3 questions. And if they say yes to these 3 questions, they will feel empowered. And by the way, this is not based on common sense. It's based on research. But you've all been there, so it'll feel like common sense. Question number 1, can you do it? Albert Bandura calls it self-efficacy. Do you believe you can do it? Do you have the time, the knowledge, and the training to do what we're asking you to do? If you answer yes, good. Second question, will it work? Do you believe that we're asking you to do the process will work? Albert Bandura calls that response efficacy, believing that the behavior will lead to the ultimate outcome. By the way, that takes education, right? We have to show them the data. We might show them some theory. We show them, teach them why this might work. I just used the word education. Earlier, I used the word training. Is there a difference? In elementary school, we call it education. Middle school, education. High school, education. College, higher education. Then you go to industry. What do you call it? Training. You have your training department. There must be a difference. Well, you know the difference. Do you want your kids to have sex education or sex training? And your kids might answer the question differently. Because you know that training means you do the behavior and you get feedback. That's powerful. Powerful. Have you ever heard this word, online training? It's an oxymoron, isn't it? I mean, training is watch the behavior. Online training, it's like plastic silverware, jumbo shrimp, legal brief, country music. I mean, it doesn't work. Okay, so if you answer yes, it will work. Third question, is it worth it? So we've had a training question, we've had an educational question. This is the motivational question. Do you believe the consequences? This is about consequences. B.F. Skinner taught us this, selection by consequences. Dale Carnegie quoted B.F. Skinner and said, from the day you were born, everything you did was because you wanted something for doing it. Consequences. Is it worth it? So you have to convince people that it's worth it. Now, by the way, if you answer yes to those three questions, you feel competent. Am I right? You feel competent at doing worthwhile work. You've all been there. When you feel competent at doing worthwhile work, you're more likely to be self-motivated. You've been there. No one has to be looking over you. You feel, now here's the challenge, leaders, teachers. How do you inspire people to feel competent? Well, you give them feedback. You give them recognition. You show them they are competent. Okay, I got one more, another C word. Choice. Your common sense will tell you. When you believe you have a sense of autonomy, a sense of choice in what you're doing, you feel more self-motivated. B.F. Skinner taught us that too. In his book, Beyond Freedom and Dignity, way back in 1971, reading that book changed my life because I realized that I am controlled by consequences. But sometimes I don't feel controlled. When I'm working for a pleasant consequence, it feels good. It feels like I'm working to get something. When I'm working to avoid an aversive consequence, I feel controlled. That's called negative reinforcement. So here's a challenge, leaders. How do we get people to become success seekers rather than failure avoiders? First day of introductory psychology class. I teach 2 classes of 600 students. Maybe some of you have been in that class. And remember, the first day I say, how many are here to avoid failure? And 80% raise their hand. And I say, well, thanks for coming. I know you're motivated, but you're not happy campers. You probably told your friends, I got to go to class. It's a requirement. Not I get to go to class. It's an opportunity. You probably woke up to an alarm clock, not an opportunity clock. And it's all in how you see it. Really, it's all in how you see it. It's your paradigm. It's how you communicate to others and how you communicate to yourself. So Ellen Langer said in her book, Mindfulness, she said, and psychologists know, when you perceive choice, you perceive motivation. You're more motivated. So the deal is, for yourself, sit back and reflect. Be mindful of the choices you have. And talk about being a success seeker rather than a failure avoider. It's all how you talk, how you communicate to yourself and to others. I got a 4th C word, community. Powerful word. Psychologists know that social support is critical. People who perceive a sense of relatedness, a sense of connection with other people, they feel motivated and they're happier. I want to recite a poem. It's called The Cookie Thief by Valerie Cox.
Writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically correct.
And as I recite this poem, there's only 2 characters, a man and a lady. Put yourself in the situation. Be mindful. Think about the situation and what you would do. Okay, here we go. A woman was waiting in an airport one night with several hours before her flight. She hunted for a book in the airport shop. bought a bag of cookies, and found a place to drop. She was engrossed in her book and happened to see that the man beside her, as bold as could be, took a cookie or two from the bag between, which she tried to ignore to avoid a scene. She read, munched cookies, and watched the clock as a gutsy cookie thief diminished her stock. She was getting more irritated as the minutes ticked by, thinking if I wasn't so nice, I'd blacken his eye. With each cookie she took, he took one too. When no one was left, she wondered what he'd do. With a smile on his face and a nervous laugh, he took the last cookie and he broke it in half. He offered her half as he ate the other. She snatched it from him and thought, oh, brother, this guy has some nerve, and he's also rude. He didn't even show any gratitude. She'd never known when she'd been so galled. And she sighed with relief when her flight was called. She gathered her belongings and headed for the gate, refusing to look back at the thieving ingrate. She boarded the plane and sank on her seat. Then she sought her book, which was almost complete. As she reached in her baggage, she gasped with surprise. There was her bag of cookies in front of her eyes. If mine are here, she moaned in despair. And the others were his. He tried to share. Too late to apologize, she realized with grief that she was the rude one, the ingrate, the thief. So where were you where were you? Whose side were you on? Were you thinking independent or interdependent? I don't blame you if you think independent. You know, that's how we're raised. Nice guys finish last. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. Got to blow your own horn. You know, independent. We come into this life of ours, dependent to others, and then we can't wait to become teenagers. You know, we're too old to do what kids do, too young to do what adults do, so then we'll do what nobody else would do to assert our independence. And some of us get stuck there. We're stuck. I'll do it myself. I don't need you. Not good. We need each other. We have to have each other's back. We need a sense of community. This independence culture that we got to move to interdependent. Okay, 4 C words that can fuel self-motivation and I think can fuel actively caring for people. Let me tell you a story to put it all together. It happened over 60 years ago. I remember it like yesterday. My parents asked me, hey, Scott, how'd you like to get drum lessons? How'd you like to play the drums? Oh, man, would I ever? I'm thinking of Buddy Rich and Gene Krupa. Most of you guys don't know those names, but they were the drummers. In those days, the drum was in the front of the band. They had white pearl drum sets, and I saw myself. That was my vision. I had a vision, consequences. That was my vision. And I said, yeah, I want to take drum lessons. So the teacher would bring his drum and set next to mine. I didn't have a nice drum like this. My parents bought me a beat-up old drum at an auction. And they said to me, if you get better, if your teacher tells us they're holding me accountable. Teacher says you're getting better, we'll get you a better snare drum and then a bass drum and then some cymbals. And that was my vision. And that kept me going. Consequences. So the teacher would come in and he would show me stuff. You know, this is how this is how Buddy Rich plays with his left hand and his right hand. And they would just do things like a flam. Can you hear that in the back? You okay? And this is a rim shot. He would show me stuff. I was just 10 years old, remember? And when he showed me stuff, I felt, wow. He showed me this little simple drum beat. Watch me, Scott. Watch this. I practiced it, and I did it. I'm feeling competent. He showed me a paradiddle. Listen, paradiddle. Paradiddle. He said, you go home and you practice next week. I want to see your paradiddle. I said, watch this. I said, watch this. He said, that's a double paradiddle. Hey, we didn't get there yet. I'm reading ahead. Because I'm self-motivated. I feel competent. I'm walking through Muhlenberg High School, Allentown, Pennsylvania, and I see the music teacher, and he says, I heard you're learning to play the drums. I said, yeah, and I'm getting good. He said, you can march in the band. You can be the snare drummer. Whoa, that felt good. Another vision. Then the teacher comes into my These are private lessons, by the way, $2. $2. That was a long time ago. He said, Scott, ready to do a drum roll? I said, of course, I'm ready for a drum roll. He says, watch, Scott. Here you go. Watch this. Did you do that again? Scott, this is easy. Watch me. Now you practice that. And next week, I want to see a drum roll. He comes back the next week. He says, how's your drum? I can do a paradiddle. That's regression. I want to see a drum roll. Week after week. Now we're talking about distress. Now we're talking about apathy. Now we're talking about learned helplessness. That's what psychologists call it. I remember walking through that elementary school and seeing a music teacher, and he said, so Scott, how you doing? How are the drums? Not so good. I can't do a drum roll. You know, like adults always say, never say can't. You give me anything you want to be, Scott. No, I can't do a drum roll. I've tried and I've kind of given up. And he said, Scott, when you ever get overwhelmed, break it down. Break it down. Can you do a paradiddle? Yeah. Okay, what's the second beat? 2 beats. Yeah, well, that's a drum roll, Geller. It's 2 beats. You go home and you practice and you say, Dada, Mama. Remember, I was just 10. You go, Dada, Mama, Dada, Mama, Dada, Mama, Dada. Drum roll. That teacher came back the next week. Okay, Scott, I guess you can't do a drum roll. I said, watch this. He said, whoa, how'd you learn to do that? And I showed my teacher. I taught my teacher, 10 years old. He said, I'd forgotten that I got into the habit of just doing this. I forgot that it's 2 beats. You taught me how to teach the drum roll, Scott. There's a lesson there. We can always learn from each other. We need to have the humility to accept feedback and the courage to speak up. And we need to help each other feel self-motivated. How? Give them the perception of competence. Teach them about consequences drive us. You know, let them perceive choice and let them know it's community. We're all in this together and we need each other. Thank you.
Okay. Have this problem too. Thanks a lot for watching. Stream is unavailable. I will try to check it, but just a second. Just checking. Okay, cool. So some technical issues, we've fixed everything. Good. So I like this author. He's a great inspirer, and he's a great inspiration for people to become more self-motivated. And the stuff I would like to talk about is personal values of self-motivation. So so personal values are the general expression of what is most important for you. Your personal values are a central part of who you are and who you want to be. The greatest motivation for any person is the fact that the actions you take or the things you do perfectly match with your personal values by becoming more aware of these important factors in your life. You can use them as a guide to make the best choice in any situation. Some of life's decisions are really about determining what you value most. Okay, so we have both achievement goal orientations and the Schwartz value theory. Goal orientation theory is focused on goals that are pursued or perceived by individuals in achievement situations, resulting in different patterns of cognition, affect, and behavior. By the way, this research was conducted by Carol Dweck, the person who conducted the research on growth mindset. The original theory portrays two goal orientations. The first goal orientation is to develop one's competence by acquiring new skills and developing mastery in new situations. The second goal orientation is the goal of demonstrating competence or avoiding exhibiting a lack of competence by seeking favorable judgments from others and avoiding negative ones. Each of the goal orientations leads to different preferences within achievement situations. Individuals with a high mastery goal orientation are willing to risk erring in order to learn. They also prefer to engage in new, demanding, and challenging tasks rather than repeating familiar ones. Conversely, individuals with a high performance goal orientation tend to abstain from learning opportunities in which there is a risk of erring. They therefore favor performing familiar tasks in which they feel safe so as not to make any errors, and are reluctant to opt for difficult tasks. Mastery and performance goal orientations also differ in their emotional consequences. Mastery goal orientation elicits enjoyment, optimism, and intrinsic interest, whereas performance goal orientation elicits helplessness, negative affect, anxiety, and stress. Also, it's very important, speaking about personal values, to mention the Schwartz value theory. Values, security, self-direction, convey broad life goals that are important to us in our lives. They serve as guiding principles in people's lives and are ordered according to their importance, which varies across individuals. Their broad nature leads them to have an overarching effect across contexts. For example, a person who values benevolence is likely to be motivated by benevolence values at home, at work, or with friends. Values are quite stable and as such function as ongoing motivators of perceptions, attitudes, goals, and behaviors. Schwartz presented a comprehensive model of values which defines 10 broad values that form a circle according to the motivation and underlies each of them. If we look at this Schwartz model, we have 4 most important values, which sometimes can contradict each other. These are self-enhancement, which involves power and achievement; openness to change, which involves self-direction, stimulation, and hedonism; conservation, which involves security, tradition, and conformity; and self-transcendence, which consists of benevolence and universalism. So, every 2 adjacent values in the circle share an underlying motivation. For example, benevolence and universalism share a pro-social motivation and can often be pursued simultaneously with the same pro-social goal or act. In contrast, values that emanate from opposite sides of the center of the circle are based on conflicting motivations, as the pursuit of one often hampers the pursuit of the other, conformity or self-direction. For example, the circle of values is based on 2 bipolar orthogonal dimensions. The first dimension is of openness to change versus conservation. It arrays values according to the extent to which they motivate people to be open to new ideas and experiences, versus the motivation to preserve the status quo and the certainty it provides. The second dimension is self-enhancement versus self-transcendence. It arrays values according to the extent to which they motivate people to enhance personal interests, even at the expense of others, versus the motivation to promote the welfare of others. The 10 values and their structure of relations have been established in cross-cultural research in more than 70 countries from around the world. As the value circle is based on a motivational continuum, Schwartz and Bonk advocate dividing the circle to more specific or to broader areas when a different diversion better represents hypotheses. Accordingly, in the current research, we use the division of universalism to the 3 parts. Universalism social, expresses a general pro-social motivation and societal concern and includes the specific values of equality, social justice, and a world peace. Schwartz also noted that these values are the closest to benevolence values in their spatial location due to this shared pro-social motivation. Universalism intellect expresses an open-minded intellectual motivation and includes the specific values of broad-mindedness and wisdom. Schwartz noted that these 2 values are the closest to self-direction values in their spatial representation, probably due to the motivation of the independent judgment that they share with self-direction. Finally, universalism nature expresses the motivation to protect nature and includes the specific values of protecting the environment, a world of beauty, and the unity with nature. So now, there is a question for you. What are your 3 most important things for you in life? What are your 3 most important things for you in life? Can you type in the chat box? Now chat is working, everything is fine. What are your 3 most important things in life? Why? Why not? For example, for me, it's the people who surround me, the relationships with them, self-satisfaction, being satisfied with other people, So what about you? Can you type in the chat box? What are your 3 most important things for you in life? And another one, how do these 3 things guide you in life? How do they work as your motivational factors? For example, for me, people work as a motivational factor. People around me work as a major motivational factor because I'm really motivated by them. I have seen that they have gone through thick and thin, and they motivate me a lot. Self-satisfaction also leads to staying self-motivated, to the understanding that I'm doing something right, that I'm doing something that I really like. So what about you? Can you type in the chat box? Nobody is writing. Nobody is writing. Okay. Well, speaking about I think for me, the most important are relationship with my close people, my personal improvement, and my free time. Wow, great. Thanks a lot for answering. Yeah, it's very free time is a great resource, which is and what speaking about these 3 most important things, how do they guide you in life? How do they guide you in life? Can you, Olana, can you, Mila? My 3 in family, friends, and teaching at school. Optimism, relations with people, and skills. Optimism helps me in critical situations and when I feel really bad. Relations with people help to communicate with the world and they give a motivation to develop. Skills, just important thing. Okay, good. Now, I would like, thanks a lot for participating in the webinar. Now, I would like to count your replies. And the person with the most deep meaning, I will choose to be the active person today. Uliana participated a lot. The greatest for me. So Masha was prized, was awarded for that. So I really liked the today's Just a second. I'm going to look through. So I'm going to look through the Добре. Okay. So I like the answer of Dasha. So the prize goes to Dasha because I was just amazed by the answer, optimism, relation, and people and skills. So with the elaborate answer that Dasha gave. Thanks a lot. Sorry for some technical issues. That's not my fault. So some YouTube banned the stream because of the video, it seems to me. Right. Thanks a lot for today. Dasha, congratulations. And everybody, don't be disappointed. You are also going to get the prize because I usually see the only faces during the webinars. Thanks a lot. Have a nice weekend.